2014, 2 o'clock p.m. in council chambers. The first item up would be adoption of minutes of previous meetings. These would be Committee of the Whole minutes from March the 17th, regular open minutes from March the 17th, and a change on item number 3 is not regular open minutes from April the 1st. That was a special meeting because that was actually on the Tuesday. So that would be not regular but special open minutes from April the 1st. Is there any input into those minutes as corrected? Hearing none, they'll be adopted by consensus. No business arising. Introduction of late items. Sometimes this happens, and there are quite a few additions to the agenda. So after we look at the numbering, that we end up with item 8, I'm going to add item 9, a report on reclaimed water irrigation system expansion. Item 10, South Okanagan Community Literacy Program. Item 11, Community Service Grant Applications being brought forward from Committee of the Whole this morning. And item 12, the Haines Point boat launch, some council and town administration input into the boat launch down there. Is there anything else? Oh, yes, thank you. Is there any other items on the agenda? Okay, I would ask for a motion to adopt that.
Did you want to add a delegation from?
Oh, yes, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Also on today's agenda, there is an additional delegation, Ms. Carol Youngberg from Desert Park, making a request and giving a bit of a report, and that would come up under delegation number 2. I'd also like to report that Councillor Michael Ryan is attending in a conference call position. Councillor Ryan is recovering from some surgery he had recently and is going to cover it from his at-home position. So, hello, Michael, you're on there?
Yes, I am, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Okay. So now, looking for a motion with all that change. Councillor Ryan McCordoff, all in favor. We have a new...
I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you. We have a new agenda. So having said that, we will move to delegations number 1, South Okanagan Shuttle Service. Mr. Robert Linttell, please. And welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Wells and Council. Thank you for the opportunity today. Just before commencing, I just wanted to clarify that I have no vested interest, either personal or business, in the proposed shuttle business that we're speaking about today. I appear before you as a volunteer with the position of being transportation chair for the South Okanagan Chamber, representing, of course, the 3 communities of Osoyoos, Oliver, and Okanagan Falls, and also end up being the active chair for the South Okanagan Ground Transportation Advisory, which we call SOGATA. Responsible for the initiative and the preparation of the RFP tabled before you. I'm also pleased to have with me our chair, Mars Bennett from Chamber, and thank you for attending, Miles. Being an advocate for regional development and the creation of an improved regional transportation system, I have a few observations and some introductory comments. In the past, we've seen individual communities were often strongly engaged in self-promotion and their own economic development programs. Often there was little regard either for or to the communities next door. I've seen evidence where actually communities competed against each other. Their focus was really to protect their own interests, and perhaps rightly so. Today, however, we have a different scene. And as a chamber member, it's quite obvious that in forward-thinking communities, the focus is now on regional attractions, believing the greater the variety and diversity of an area, the greater the opportunity of attracting domestic or international tourist interests and those seeking to relocate to the specific communities. Hence today, such forward-thinking communities have left self-promotion behind and now partner and collaborate with neighboring communities and organizations of like mind. Focus becomes highlighting regional strengths, drawing greater attention to the character and special features or attractions of an area. Research also indicates travelers or those seeking to relocate want to experience the broader benefit of a region versus just being part of an individual community. And we have a number of activities happening today to support such trends, which is very clear. First, we have the Destination BC, which obviously focuses on multiple area promotions. We have our own local Thompson Okanagan Tourist Association, who strongly and advocately reports on the regional promotion. And certainly, if we look to the South Okanagan, we are blessed with many unique and featured regional attractions. As you know, we're Canada's only natural desert. We have a desert climate and environment that's quite unique. Soyuz is one of 14 resort municipalities within the province. We have culinary and fresh food production, horse racing, world-class golf courses, boating, fishing, hiking, First Nation cultural experiences, quick and easy access to the USA-Canada border, wine capital of Canada in Oliver, vineyards and wineries on the Naramata Bench, various successful community festivals of some history, or special events including Cherry Fest, Festival of the Grape, Peach Festival, etc. And obviously also some of the major attractions, such as the special event facilities in Penticton. And the list is ongoing, and I'm sure you have others that you could add to it. But the common thread to all this activity is transportation. If we are to expand and take advantage of the region's attractions, surely reliable transportation becomes key to serve both residents, international and domestic travelers. It is therefore not surprising that the initiative before you today has been to create a better serving transportation alternative starting from regional interests. First came the South Okanagan Chamber, representing the 3 communities. Next came the assistance of TODA to help make the service an integral part of their regional plan. And I understand your community, as well as others, had input and approved their final plan. And the simple objective was simply to improve tourism and overall economic development. Certainly then, another realm of support was resident representatives from each of the Highway 97 corridors from Soyuz to Kelowna, who responded to invitation to meet and discuss to improve transportation in the region. Consensus and concern was clear. Between Soyuz and Kelowna, the region lacks a reliable daily express transportation service. The proposal before you should not be confused with that of the BC Transit Services, which are designed to be a multiple in-community stop or a direct airport shuttle. The objective of our proposed express shuttle is to provide a privately owned and operated shuttle service without government subsidy that would provide a daily, reliable, safe, and comfortable transportation alternative at low fare cost to meet the demand of resident and tourism traffic to the South Okanagan. The obvious users that have come to our attention is that of certainly tourism for certain, both individuals and groups seeking access to the area, either traveling from the south to the north or north from south. Workers looking to acquire better transportation connection to existing and potentially new employment, such as the new correction center in Oliver or work in northern BC. We have students living in the South Okanagan seeking to acquire better access to colleges, special training either in Penticton and or Kelowna. We have seniors, obviously, because of age, are unwilling or are not wanting to regularly drive, and particularly when weather becomes inclement. We have folks looking to acquire medical and business appointments. As you know, not all smaller communities can provide the full range of personal services in their community, and so inter-city community travel is required and continues to grow each day. Resident population is drawn really to the best services available, and travel outside of their resident community is fairly common. We also have other leisure travel interests, and then of course comes the airport. And we have an airport in Penticton that provides 8 flights a day in and out, traveling only to Vancouver through Air Canada service. If one is traveling to Kelowna, there's a broader range of access. Here we have 66 flights a day. There are 19 direct flights to major cities. It's serviced by 10 different carriers. And in this forthcoming year, it's expected that travel will exceed 1.6 million individuals. It was interesting in looking at data from the airport to also note that in 2010, from a fairly in-depth study, over 180,000 individuals from Penticton South traveled to Kelowna to catch outgoing bound flights. So in creating this picture for you, the committee that I represent was responsible for then creating the RFP for service. It was our view that there was sufficient grounds to in fact ask industry for their interest. If you had a chance to read the RFP, you'll find that it's quite detailed. We sought input from a number of sources who helped us in the process. I'm happy to report that to date our progress that's outlined on page 11 is in fact on schedule. And we have our closing date taking place on the 15th of April with an award to take place on the 30th with intention of creating service by the first week in June. There was one interesting development in the process where we provided bidders of interest to meet and acquire additional information. And following that meeting, we did make a minor change to provide option to provide different sized coaches, as well as to provide pickup in both West Bank and the Kelowna City in the route from Osoyoos to the International Airport at Kelowna. It was the committee's interest also in helping to create this service and working with industry to also provide a fail-safe mechanism where in fact it was thought it would make sense in the wisdom of those on the committee to create a $50,000 reserve fund that would be used as a support for the creation and development of the service, but not funding individual bidders' operation. In other words, while we have the bidder coming to the plate with the risks that would normally be associated with new business, and here it's quite substantial. It's the cost of new coaches, it's the training, it's the development, it's the website development, it's the general promotion, and the service, as you well know, could be quite extensive because of the area of length and the number of communities involved. But the committee also felt that in addition to what they might do, it would be equally important that a separate fund be established under the TOTA arm and with the involvement of our committee, as well as the contributors who may wish to fund this operation, that we would have a separate mechanism that would assist in helping to further bring to public awareness the availability of such service and to assist them in the process, which we thought that made a good partnership. Interestingly enough, when talking to bidders, their interest is quite significant in the sense that what's the nature of the community support for this particular service? One thing to talk about it, another thing to put money on the table and to contribute. So in coming before you today, I bring with you the invitation to have your community become a contributing component of our startup fund. And in this regard, in the letter that we provided, we've outlined a tier of 1, 2, and 3 with different levels of financing. And it's suggested that a community of 5,000 or more could make a contribution greater than a smaller business or a smaller community. For the last few weeks and for the next week, I've been scheduled to make a series of presentations, both to the DO board, followed by a Osoyoos Chamber, and other businesses who have expressed interest. I've already attended before the Penticton Council and have met with other individual businesses to solicit their participation. I'm happy to report that in a recent Castanet survey that lasted for 48 hours on the internet. There were 500 and some respondents, and of that number, there was a 70% support vote for the service. This was an unsolicited, it was there in doing nothing to do with our operation. It was just something that they felt necessary to, or at least of interest, to public interest, to in fact to conduct a survey vote. And in my concluding comments, I simply would invite you to give serious consideration to using the regional interest above the interest only of your community in supporting this initiative. This has been a volunteer effort. It's come from the grassroots. It's come from the chamber businesses. It's come from many people I've spoken to. And it's the first time that we've come before council and other agencies to, in fact, solicit their support, both conceptually and financially. And so I throw the ball to your court, and hopefully that you would see favorable to support it in the manner that we've asked. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I'll ask if there's any questions from council. Yeah, thank you very much, and you and the volunteers that put huge amounts of effort into this. I looked at the depth of the RFP and the questions, and it was certainly inclusive of pretty well everything that I could think of. So good to see that coming forward, and I think the quality of what you've done will stand there for a long period of time for wherever this goes. And hopefully we're going to move forward on it. I know there's one, and I'll be the one to bring the issue forward, Robert. We are under 5,000, although we're close to 5,000, and I think those numbers don't quite work. Sure. And if people are going to take that as, well, it says here, if that's the attitude, then we're certainly have the wrong number addressed to us. And again, was this also a pitch that was being made to the regional district?
Yes, I just confirmed about an hour ago that I'm been scheduled for the 17th, and I'm happy to attend there as well. And here again, the example is that in creating this fund, it's a pretty simple matter to ask each of the communities in the district and businesses to contribute a little to give us the benefit of a greater sum that we can be doing something worthwhile. And by every community and business participating, obviously it speaks well to the bidders that not only is there a potential business case, but there's also a true support from the community at large financially. Right. I think the work we've done is a prerequisite, is a very valuable prerequisite for any private business, because they wouldn't have probably spent the time that we have had trying to review and address the issues at hand. Okay,
and I guess going back to my earlier statement about the amount of money, I think we have to go with the under 5,000 amount, just because that's we're under 5,000. So. Council McCordock, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. That's a very in-depth report, and you've looked at all of the issues, I'm sure. When I first read it, my thoughts were timing of the buses leaving here. I understand it would be twice a day, or the coaches. When I travel anywhere, I much prefer to drive 45 minutes to Penticton, park for $3 a day, and I will go to Vancouver. I don't mind. I usually can fit that in. I don't like going to Kelowna to get on the bus. It takes over 2 hours to get there, and often flights are early in the morning if you're going east. Therefore, you have to go up the night before and stay overnight. So to me, that's too much of a hassle, and I much prefer Penticton. I make good use of it. So I guess my concern is if people down at this end of the valley are going to buy into this service, and I know it's not just for airports, but that's the end result. I'm just wondering if anything has been looked at in terms of timing of the bus, and I assume it would start here because we're the farthest south, and in order to accommodate most people going on flights. Has that been looked at, or is that an issue that's not yet determined?
We've invited the bidders, who are the industry specialists, to give us some indication of what they think would work. Our vision was to see 4 buses running daily. We had 2 from Osoyoos, 1 leaving early morning, mid-morning, traveling north to the communities. The intention is to keep this as a shuttle service, or at least as an express service. And so the entire trip from here to the airport in Kelowna would probably be around 2.5 hours. At the same time, we would have 2 buses leaving the international airport at Kelowna traveling south, 1 mid-morning, 1 early morning, 1 mid-morning, and each of them then making their travels and then turning around and then going back. So you would end up with basically 8 trips going back and forth daily. The schedule, the timing, the nature of the stops, we're allowing the bidders to come forward with their best of case view. At the same time, we have opportunity as a working committee, as well as those who have expressed interest financially to participate, to help us curve what is the best times to serve the public need. Obviously, in time, it could be increased. It may be that in off-season, perhaps the service is reduced. There's going to be some flexibility, obviously. And so we're allowing that to unfold as we go forward with the RFP.
Thank you. I just think it's a key issue to be talked about. Thanks.
Councillor Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, great report, Robert. Thank you, and I'm glad you brought up the 2 options, the conceptual and the financial aspect of it. I like the conceptual part of it. It seems like a really good plan. I'd like to ask just a couple of questions about the financial aspect of it, and maybe just a little bit more detail on what the money would be used for. And if you could also maybe comment on the successful bidder. Are they going to be a for-profit business? And would any of this funding be used to enhance their opportunity for success in the business community? I'm just a little curious about that as well.
Well, certainly, as I spoke earlier, this is intended to be a privately operated operation without government subsidy. So it is a profit operation. We think that only makes sense in today's environment. So comes the question, if I'm standing before you asking for public funds to fund a private operation, doesn't make sense. And we recognize that feature. So at the same time, we also recognize that a new venture starting has a lot of unforeseen costs, a lot of unforeseen unknowns, and the bidder who may arrive on our doorstep to provide this potential service, he will be faced with huge risk and cost. We, in our wisdom, decided, what else can we do to make the bidder more comfortable in getting a confirmation of support, both from the committee and from the communities at large? We know we can't fund directly, and that would be inappropriate. However, it is possible that we can put together under the total blanket a mechanism that would provide a supplementary additional marketing program or information, public information, whatever that they can provide that would complement what the bidder would be doing. But in no way would the bidder be given money from the process. It would be totally operated by TOTA, our committee, and the contribution of those that come forward.
Okay. CAO Romanko, please.
This would be a one-time contribution?
That's my understanding.
Councillor Plante, any comments? You're sort of in that transportation business. Anything that you see that we should be looking at or asking? Or
Actually, I think they've gone through a very good process. The committee, I know many of the people that are on that committee, so they're asking the right questions, the right people. And again, conceptually, as a business, that's always the biggest key is the liability issue. And so, for the buy-in from us, I agree. I give full support. As far as what the concept is, I'm hoping that we can get buy-ins also from the hotels and some of that as well as we're doing these talks, because I think that is the biggest key. It takes away a little bit more of the liability just on that one company doing the shuttle, but bring some of that to the hotels as well, right? And that way we can have a buy-in from them. But as far as the concept itself, it's something that we're definitely missing. We've always tried to fit it within our business model. It just doesn't work within ours. But I see the potential for this being very successful.
Thanks for those comments. Councillor Ryan, anything to add?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I do have want to commend Robert. I too read the RFP, and it's extremely thorough. Seems to take every situation into account. And two questions, really. One is, I'm not sure whether we're the first community that you're speaking to, Robert, but I would be interested in whether there have been any other communities, and I'm focusing particularly on Penticton, but also on Oliver, let's say, and to see if they had made any kind of a commitment at this point. And the second question is, I noticed in the RFP that you asked for recent vintage buses, and I think it was 7 years, and then you changed that to 10 years, and I was just curious about the age of the buses that you're welcoming.
In response to your questions and the age of the buses, the industry has a practice of taking, first of all, the number of years of age of these coaches is a little bit deceiving. The mechanisms for them, engines and transmissions and framework, all seem to be interchangeable, and there can be a refurbishment to an older bus that makes it look brand new. You and I probably wouldn't notice whether it was a new one or an old one on the road because of what they do. But the industry has provided us that insight, and so rather than restrict them unreasonably to the 7 years, that we extended it to 10. In answer to your question in regard to other communities, this is like putting my hands behind my back and asking you whether you want to see my left hand or my right hand. At the moment, we have commitments from private industry, from private hotel operators for financial support. I'm not here to point one finger against another. There are those who are in review, and I'm encouraged by the response that we're getting. At this point, Penticton City, after making a presentation to them, has not responded to my request as of yet. I'm scheduled to appear before the Destination Associates Board this afternoon, and also scheduled to appear before the Oliver Council on the 14th. They will receive basically the same information that you people have received. And my intention is to, in fact, fulfill our obligation of having a $50,000 fund in place, whether it comes from councils or private business. That's my objective.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, well, we certainly talked about this here through the town and through Destination Associates over many years, and it's good to see that it has come to this point. So we hope that, I'm sure that you can count on us for some support, and I hope that you'll be successful with the other municipalities as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further input? Okay, thank you for their presentation. I see this is coming forward today under Business 3. The ask is there, so if you'd like to have a seat, you'll probably have some form of an answer yet today. Good. What time's your other meeting?
4 o'clock, sir.
Wow. Okay, thanks, Robert.
Thank you very much.
I was thinking of trying to bring that in right now, but I think we'll do it in the order that we're here. We have enough interruptions with this. So I'll call for delegation number 2, which will be Carol Youngberg on behalf of Desert Park.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to present our annual statement to you, which has been prepared and is in front of you, as well as we'd just like to bring you up to date on some of the activities that are going on within the society. We're having a very active winter, as you probably have seen. For those of you who've been around the track area, we have 110 horses there at the moment, all wintering, and they're all from Alberta. I think we have maybe 4 from BC, but that's it at the moment. The wintering is a very, very extensive program. The trainers get paid by horse owners to come to Osoyoos and improve the ability of the horses to compete in the horse races throughout the Alberta circuit and Manitoba as well. So they get paid by the owners, as I've just said, and of course whenever there's a glitch in our program, it's really taken seriously, and of course we have to react very, very quickly, because if they're a day down, it's a lot of money to some of the owners. One owner, in fact, has 33 head here, and the other owner has 26 head. So when you pay $120 a month for the stall plus $50 a day for all your training staff, it's a lot of money that's at stake. And of course, in exchange for that, they are staying in our hotels and they eat out every day. So we have, I think, in excess of 58 people up there at the moment working. So it is a little bit of an economic impact to our community that we appreciate and hope that we can facilitate them in the future and continue to improve our facilities so that they are interested in returning. So some of the little glitches that they would like to us to work on are the frozen track, of course, which happens in February. There are ways to make it very accessible, and of course it costs us a bit of money, but we have to keep working on that. The inside facilities for showers and bathrooms, we are also, that's on our agenda for this year, as well as you know, little things like the poor quality of straw that we were supplied with this year. Apparently it was a bad year in the straw industry, and we're going to work on trying to get a different supplier next year and see if we can improve that quality. And that's used for the bedding for all of the horses, which are changed on a daily basis. And it also affects our income, because as the straw is taken out of the stalls and put into our container, we have a fellow in Oliver who buys it from us and uses it for mulching. And of course there's, you know, we were getting $50 a load, and this year we're getting 20. So that income factor is, it will definitely be reflected on our statements for next year, because that was a reduction of around $7,000 that we had, sorry, $5,000 that we had included. And tractor repairs, which was $12,000 this year, completely out of the blue after we just paid for the tractor. I think what that was like predetermined by the manufacturer to make sure we had to inject a little bit more money into it just to keep it running. Anyways, so that gives us reason to be very concerned about this year. And of course our provincial funding has been cut again, and provincial funding goes to purses only, and it only goes for thoroughbred racing, not quarter horse. So that funding that comes from the Breeders Association in Vancouver is affected each year as well. Also, the next thing that is of great interest, of course, is the grandstand, and we have been successful in hiring through some personal funding, thank goodness, because we didn't have enough money to pay him to come down here and do the inspection through our society. He is a structural engineer out of Penticton, and Cora is the name of his company. Works very closely with McLean Construction and was recommended, so that's who we are using, and he will be here this week. And then we, you know, all the rest of the materials that we need that are very costly, we have contacted a couple of companies to see if they will give us a hand in either donation or part cost of what we're going to need to make sure that the grandstand is safe and able to be used. And having said that, there are a few industries that have contacted us to use the facility, but they're not interested unless we have grandstand seating, because it will, their activities will probably encourage the attendance of between 1,500 and 3,000 people, so therefore we need seating. And the other reason that we're pursuing the maintenance of the grandstand as well as the improvements to that building. So that'll be an all-encompassing report that comes from Encora, sorry, engineering. And all the activities that we have got on our plate to try to encourage the use of the building once we have got some repairs to it and have updated it a little bit. And that's through the funds that we hope that we're going to make this year through our fundraising events and through the horse racing. And any grants that we are able to access, and of course joint funding, we're hoping the regional district will be encouraging with us as well, which they have been in the past. Verbally, we do need some confirmation. So we have, we're really proud of the accomplishments that we've made with the races throughout this last year. I think that it's very interesting that there was the attention that there was, since we planned for 800 people and we got over 2,000 in both cases. And the attraction to the races, I think, is something that we have to seriously consider to be part of our economic boost throughout the off-season, which we have tried to take care of, which is in June, as versus the August race. And the August race, of course, is primarily designed for our tourists that are here, because we start losing them in around the 15th of August. And so it's just sort of something that we've planned to hopefully get them to stay just a week longer, something interesting for them to do. So also on the board is our branding. We're very, very active in creating a brand for the facility, and the companies that we've approached are interested. It's a business plan that we have to get in place to make sure that they're secure when they do consider us as a location, that the finances are going to be secure. Our membership is increasing. We have fundraisers, and what we do at the fundraisers is, for the people who attend our fundraisers, they will get a membership free of charge as long as they pay the membership to attend our fundraisers. And that's increased our membership considerably, as well as our volunteer load. So first fundraiser is May the 3rd at the Sage Pub, if you want to make a note of that. The second one is May the 24th at the Ridge Pub. And our big fundraiser, that's the gala event, which is our little horse races, is at the Watermark on June the 7th, at which time we will be really asking for a lot of support, since the mayor owns a horse in the race, and he's been challenged by several people in the community. So we're hoping for a very successful event. And in front of you are the financial statements, and would just wondered if anybody had any questions after the circulation of them and had any opportunity to look at them. Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any questions on the financials? It shows a loss of $6,000, and that's, of course, simply that, you know, the money we have put back into the facility. We have receivables, which are not shown on the financials, so that $6,000 is covered by the monies that we would be getting after the financial statements prepared in January, February, and March.
Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, thanks, Carol. That's always interesting to get your reports. It all sounds pretty positive. Excuse me. Wanted to ask if you could comment on the two items. One, the revenue for the race day, and expenses for the race day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the revenue is combined with the $15,000 and the sponsorship funding. So the sponsorship and fundraising and the race day revenue is a little bit less than what the expenses are. But I don't think Jim is here, and I have to ask Jim, but I don't think our grants, oh, that's right. The grant is $39,000, and the revenue is $15,000, and then our sponsorships is $19,000. So if you add those three figures together, we made probably about $4,000 or $5,000 in the races. But that the sponsorship of each one of the races, it cost us about $60,000 to put on a race. And that's the upfront money that we have to have on hand in order that we are able to guarantee the purse money, because you can't post the stakes book unless we actually have that money in hand. And so when we get the funding guarantee from the provincial government and then our own funds that we know that we have in place, it usually balances to what we're going to have to supply. So,
yeah, just a comment coming from somebody that doesn't know much about financial statements. When you look at it, it would be beneficial if perhaps those are subcategories of race revenue. When you look at it for what it is on the list here, you would never know that.
yeah.
Without
Well, we've
asking
been
or getting
recommended
clarity
from
on
our
it.
accountant to get new software.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Because-
the software we had was a pretty simple program.
Oh,
And when
okay.
it allows to break it out, and her recommendation is buy the next level of software.
Yeah, if you
so
just
you can
had one
break it.
category, race revenue, and
Yeah.
then had subcategories.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, it's not real clear. And
Yeah, that was a recommendation from White Kennedy that we were able to break that, the expenses down in particular. But the income also on the race day revenue, we have like our beer garden and our concessions and our gate and our programs, and that'll all be broken down in the new software. But we aimed at almost sticking it into anything to get it done, because we had to have these statements for the provincial government. So we'll probably get a call from them too, CJ.
Maybe they'll buy you the software.
Yeah, you never know. Anything else?
Any other questions from council, comments, input? Other than we as council think you're doing a great job. It's really neat to see horses up at the track again, being wintered and training into their spring training program. And you're correct, the number of people that are here and what the economic lift to the town in the dead of winter is large. So thanks for you, and I understand you have some new blood on the administration level up there, and people stepping up for some of the jobs. So congratulations. That sounds really good. Just as we're looking at some of the financials and some of the asks, we're getting feedback on this.
It's Michael on the phone.
Oh,
I think
okay,
that's what
okay.
it is.
Okay. When we're looking at this, we have to be very careful that we don't have something coming forward that's a very, very important imperative ask. For example, like the grandstand and that, when we don't have budget room for it. Because if you're getting into an expensive item, while the town does have the privilege of resort municipal funding, that's prescriptive too, and that has to be in a plan. So, if all of a sudden there's a large ask out there, we could be in trouble. So anything you can do, I appreciate the talk today and you coming forward, but anything that you can do to help us get ahead of it, because we can't follow it. There's just no legal financial way for us to come after the fact.
We should have been working on this for 5 months to get somebody to sign off on the grandstand. That's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And the issue is that, once we get that, then they'll be able to give us an estimated expense level.
Right.
But at this point in time, it's impossible to even make a guess at
Right.
what it's going to cost, because one contractor says next to nothing, it looks fine, we're going to do this, that, and the next thing. The next contractor says it's an issue. So,
Well, if
We
you
have
get an engineer willing to put a stamp on it, that counts.
that's what we're asking for. Yeah, thanks. And, but all the thanks to the community too, and to all of our committee. We've got lots and lots of people working behind the scenes, and every race day takes over 100 volunteers to put on. And anybody that's in the community that can help us is just more than welcome, and we certainly look forward to having some great race days. And South Okanagan Concrete, who I just cannot go away without letting all of you know, they take one whole day out of their work level and take all their equipment and bring, probably last time was 100 loads of sand up to the track to make this viable, and that's all volunteer. So when we have input like that from our community, I think it's commendable, and we certainly should be proud of everyone who lives here as well as our community. So thanks for your time.
Thanks for coming forward with the update, and I'm sure we'll see you again, and all the best into the even. So thanks again. Back to the agenda. No water matters, no correspondence. Into bylaws 1. Report on the Municipal Ticketing Information Amendment Bylaw 1279-07 Foreshore and Lake Zoning Bylaw 1294-2012. CAO Romanko, please.
That'll be Director Cunningham.
Oh, okay, Director Cunningham. Thank you.
Okay, background. The purpose of this report is to recommend that Council adopt the attached Municipal Ticketing Information MTI Amendment Bylaw number 129707, which introduces specific fines for offences related to the town's Foreshore and Lake Zoning Bylaw 1294. Since first, second, and third readings of the proposed amendment bylaw on March 17th, staff have not received any questions or concerns from the public. Overview. On April 15th, 2013, Council adopted Foreshore and Lake Zoning Bylaw 1294-2012, which was created following recommendations of the town's Land Use Recreation and Commercial Task Force, LRCU Task Force, with local stakeholder representation. The bylaw delineates and regulates use of 4 water zones across foreshore areas and lake waters within the town's municipal boundaries, which generally extend 100 meters into Osoyoos Lake. The 4 zones are W1, Public Water Use Zone, W2, Private Moorage Zone, W3, Group Strata Moorage Zone, and W4, Commercial Moorage Zone. First-year enforcement of our new bylaw has been dealt with on a complaint and advisory basis to ease in its implementation, but the proposed MTI amendments will legally strengthen our future enforcement abilities as required. Specifically, MTI Amendment Bylaw 129707 adds Schedule 27 to allow imposing specified fines for the following types of infractions. 1. Obstructing a bylaw officer or an authorized representative of the town. 2. Prohibited uses or prohibited structures. 3. Unauthorized private use of the foreshore waters fronting public lands. 4. Exceeding the allowable number of berths. 5. Impeding pedestrian access along the foreshore. 6. Boat lift covers that are not commensurate with the size of the boat. 7. Violations of setbacks from side parcel boundaries. And 8. Exceeding the maximum size of a dock or walkway. It is emphasized, however, that whenever the opportunity still remains, staff will attempt to resolve existing or potential bylaw violations through discussion and agreement. Implications. Community will provide enforcement backup if needed for the town foreshore and lake zoning bylaw. Organizational, staff time will be required for bylaw implementation. Budget, enforcement of the MPI bylaw will generate fine revenues. Significant dates, MPI amendments will be in place for summer season. Sustainability promotes responsible stewardship of our resource base. In all, the MPI bylaw amendment represents another important step in implementing the LRCU Task Force recommendations. Others will follow in subsequent years. Options: 1. Adopt the MTI amendment bylaw. 2. Direct staff to make revisions to the bylaw. Or 3. Do nothing. Our recommendation is that Council adopt option number 1 by giving final reading and adoption to the bylaw.
Thank you. Council, please. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move option number 1 to adopt MTI Amendment Bylaw 1279.07.
Councillor Plant, as seconder. Any further input into this? I think you may find some quite a bit of interest in this now that we have it adopted, where people can look and they'll be going into that document and seeing just what is allowed. It's pretty thorough. Anything from council for the vote, please? All in favor? Opposed?
Councillor Ryan in favor.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Thank you, and that passes. Thank you. Into the business. Thanks, Director Cunningham. Into business. Business 1. Looks like, Mr. Romanko, you're going to be busy here for a while.
Yes, I'll be busy for a while.
Into business 1, CAO Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. This report is generated by our Director of Operational Services, and it's to do with the reclaimed irrigation water normally used to spray the track for maintenance purposes at Desert Park. And it was not available at the time the Society wanted to spray the track. The other option was to use the nearby hydrant from the town's waste distribution system to fill the tank truck. The Society applied to use the hydrant for 3 days until the reclaimed irrigation water was available. The Society is asking Council waive the fees related to water usage. See the enclosed letter from the Desert Park Exhibition Society. The town's water use policy by policy bylaw 1242 2011 for hydrant use as a fee of $58.34 per day and a connection fee of $43.11. The total fees for the 3 days use is $218.13, and the options are to waive the hydrant fee of $218.13 or have the Desert Park Exhibition Society pay the hydrant fee of $218.13.
Thank you. Council, please. Councillor McCordock.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to move option 1, that we waive the hydrant use fee of $218.13.
And Councillor Rhodes seconding. Discussion? Pretty well common sense,
It is.
particularly after Ms. Youngberg's report. CAO Romanko, any comments?
Just a comment, if it is common sense, perhaps the motion could include something that would allow the administration in future years, if it, in operational times like this, it's a standard practice that they require water at a certain time, and sometimes we just can't get it to them. So if we can have the authority of council to hook up and bypass the bylaw, that would be good for us. It would save us.
Save us coming to council
for $200
to have this waived.
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Scott, can we work that in? Okay, anything further on that?
Fine with me.
All in favor, as amended, all in favor?
Councillor Ryan in favor.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan, that carries. Number 2, BC Transit Annual Operating Agreement.
Thank you. The town of Vesuvius has administered the contract for transit services. The contract is year to year and is up for renewal. The administration of the operating agreement for the South Okanagan Transit was forwarded to the regional district in 2008 to consider making a regional service. This is still being worked on by the regional district staff level, and no decision of the board has yet been made. There is a cost-sharing agreement with the regional district, the town of Oliver, and the town of Vesuvius for transit services until a regional service is decided upon. The net municipal share of the transit system is $37,040. The portion of these funds are recovered from the Interior Health, estimated at $28,790, and the balance is cost shared between Vesuvius, Oliver, and the regional districts areas A, C, and D. The town of Vesuvius portion is estimated at $3,200. A copy of the 2014-15 Transit Operating Agreement is attached for council approval. Schedules C and D have been removed pursuant to FO Freedom of Information regulations. In terms of implications, this enables the transit service to Oliver, Penticton, and Kelowna. Administration of the agreement is done by our organization, and we receive a small operating, a small fee for that. Budget, no changes are required for the financial plan. Significant dates, the agreement will be signed and returned as soon as possible and approved by council. And this sustainability, this service is expected to continue at status quo until the regional plan is put in place. So for the option presented by administration, 1, that the council approve the 2014-15 annual operating agreement with BC Transit, and that the signatories of the town be authorized to sign. And the second is a council not approve the 2014 annual operating agreement with BC Transit, and the recommendation is option number 1.
Okay. Over to council, please. Councilor Murdoch.
Yes, thank you. I would move option 1, that we approve the operating agreement with BC Transit and the signatories for the town be authorized to sign.
Okay. And Councilor Rhodes seconding. Any discussion on this, please? Any comments?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recommend that the town's representatives, the regional district, raise the issue of the regional service and ask for some kind of a status report on where it is in the consideration of the regional district.
Okay, I'll take that under advisement. There is discussion, although I think it would only be enhancing the service that we have here now. Councillor Ryan?
Yes.
I believe this would be further enhancing the service that we have now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know we've talked about it being a service, but regional service, but it seems like it's been sitting there for a long time.
Well, it is fairly effective. I mean, we can always increase the schedule increases, but there's a lot of people. I've seen 14 people early in the morning waiting to use it. So it is quite effective right now.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Yeah. Good. Okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that it's a well-used service, and it's really not a large amount of money on our behalf to continue it. And it has been effective for a few years, so I think we should continue.
And just to make this clear, that this is not the shuttle service that we're talking about. This is
exactly. No, I appreciate
which I understand is, could be a bit confusing, but this is the service that we have there now, and the Interior Health funds it because we have a ton of people going from here to specialists. It goes to Kelowna 2 days a week in that, but it has many stops, and it has special circumstances for people that need assist with getting off and on the bus, and it'll go to your house if you're special needs. So it's entirely different from the shuttle service that we're talking about to basically enhance tourism into the town. I probably don't have that quite right, but Mr. Linttell is still here. He can he can address that. Councillor Plante, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I agree with you. I thank you for that update, but I would certainly like to have, I know we've got this agreement in front of us, and I do believe in it, but I think it would be important, just as you explained, that we do have an annual operating update. And that would be, that's the kind of thing I always liked. We've asked our delegates to give us those in the past. So to have some type of an annual operating update to go with this agreement would be something that I would look forward to seeing us move on. And
that would be built around ridership numbers and...
Yeah, just, I mean, again, asking those questions and knowing why, how it's going and why we're signing this agreement is important. It shows transparency and tells people and the public that we are running this and the program is successful. So
good. Great comments. Anything further from council? All in favor of the agreement? Opposed?
Councillor Ryan in favor.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Item number B, Business 3, South Okanagan Shuttle Service. Again, over to CAO Romanko. This is the ask.
Yes, attached, please find an email that was provided as background to this request for support in principle and or funding of the project. And this relates to Mr. Linttell's presentation earlier as a delegation, which he provided further information and answered council's questions. Destination Soyuz board members have expressed an interest in providing funding for this project. However, at the time of this writing this report, no definitive answer is available on DO's intention to fund the project. Apparently there may be individual businesses prepared to support this project as well. This shuttle project was initially identified in the resort municipality project plan with funding attached to the project. However, The second generation of the plan retained the project, but no funding was attached. In terms of implications, the community would benefit from improved transit up and down the valley from Osoyoos to, that should probably be Kelowna instead of Penticton. Organizationally, there's no impacts on us. Budget, no funding has been budgeted for this project. Potential sources include economic development project funds that were to be considered as part of Destination Osoyoos economic development budget, or a second would be out of our contingency funding. Significant dates, this group would like to have support commitments in place for April 15th. And in terms of options, provide the funding and support the request is one. Two, deny the funding and support request. Number three, provide support of one of the requests and then seek additional information. So we have in front of us either two requests, one for either funding support and or support in principle of the project.
Okay, and this, under that budget implication, there is money through economic development or?
Well, our contract with Destination Osoyoos identified approximately $20,000 on an annual basis for project funding, and we haven't completed the agreements with them as yet, so I think that'll be done shortly. So Council would have the option to consider this an economic development project and potentially use those funds. Again, that would result in a lesser amount being transferred over to Destination Osoyoos.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to ask Mr. Linttell a question, please. I'm sorry I missed this earlier. If the town contributed money, would you also be making an ask from DO, or was your appearance at Destination Osoyoos more along the line of looking at some of the businesses that are represented on that board? I'm sorry to ask you that, but
Mr. Chair, it's probably the wrong question to ask because I'm asking everyone. I'm not sure what the budgets are, not sure what their allowances are. It's comes from the principle that everyone contributing a little can make it happen. Our objective is to reach our $50,000 goal. If we can get contributions from both DO, who have a tourism component, as well as the community that has other interests, that would be wonderful. I think it would represent a very strong image to the bidders that yes, they do have council support as well as other community support. And in the meantime, I'm still dialing for dollars and meeting with other businesses to really try to collect whatever I can.
okay. And that word was bidders with D's, not T's. Okay, thank you. Just because of my length on the town council here, my length of time on the town council, you know, traditionally Osoyoos has always supported these programs, and we've always been first out of the chute. And you get a little reluctant to do that after a while because there's some malingerers out there, and you end up paying different amounts. So when I look at that, I'm going, maybe we shouldn't be sort of the first ones out of the chute. But then I look at it, and I think the program is so darn good and speaks so well of what could happen for economic development in Osoyoos and what it could be, that yeah, I hope we can do something here through council initiative, which is now. What does council want to do with this, please? Councilor McCordaw.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I'll speak first. I do think this is an economic development initiative, and we have given Destination Osoyoos that role now to deal with economic development and tourism marketing. So I would hate to jump in right now, certainly not for $5,000, I don't think. I could maybe see a little bit less, but I would prefer that Destination Osoyoos be asked first and see whether they come forth with something before we decide. And I'm not sure that I'm comfortable making a decision today.
Okay, and maybe that's the direction we take. Although there was there was some time frames associated with this. I believe there was time frames, and the only thing I worry about is Destination Osoyoos is right in that hiring moment of their new executive director. So, you know, how that time frame works out, I'm just not sure, and I'm just throwing out questions. I think that's a position. So, was that a resolution or not?
Not necessarily, just talking. I think that the collect the funds was before April 30th, if I'm not correct, that I see on the letter here. Is that correct, Mr. Linttell?
The request is for an obligation by letter to identify the amount of support. We're not going to be physically collecting dollars until we know we have a bidder in place and the fund then can be assembled. So the commitment is come in on paper, and when we get things in order, well, then we can make the call for the collection, and Toto will take care of the administration on that, on the bidding, or on the billing, whatever.
Okay.
It was just the date of April 30th I see in your letter. That's what I was questioning. Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Mayor?
We're trying to get commitment prior to the 15th, so that when we're meeting with the bidders and we're dealing with them, we can in fact confirm, yes, we have commitment for the fund we've set aside, which is, in my view, a very, very critical component.
Thank you very much. It's great to have you here for the resource. Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, we know we have an Economic Development Committee. We've just reappointed our 3 members, and I think it would be appropriate for us to direct administration to confer with our Economic Development Committee and the Board of Destination Osoyoos, and then come back with a report suggesting what our level of support might be.
Okay. Thanks for that comment. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I promised myself I would never use this word, but ditto. I kind of feel the same way. I understand your commitment, you wanting a commitment by April 15th, and you know, sometimes the wheels of progress move very slowly in our world, but I do feel strongly we are partners with Destination Osoyoos, not only with everything that goes on with economic development and tourism, but we're also huge funders of that organization and have directed that funding, that public funding, towards their 2 mandates in our community. And I would feel really comfortable knowing what their opinion is and what involvement that they're going to, before we commit anything from our end.
Okay. I'm looking for a resolution and a motion to defer the decision, or
I think we've captured Councillor Ryan's comments in a motion.
I'd be happy to make that into a formal motion.
Okay. Ms. Scott, could you, yes, please?
I have moved by Councillor Ryan and resolved that Council direct administration to confirm with EDAC and Destination Osoyoos and come back to Council with a recommendation for an appropriate level of contribution.
Okay, thank you. And seconded by Councillor Rhodes. I would take it on that. On that. Any other input into the hearing? None. All in favor?
Councillor Ryan in favor.
Thank you. That passes. Thanks, Mr. Linttell. Under Business 4, Wine Country Racing Association, Airport Use. Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you. The town has provided a license to use the airport to Wine Country Racing Association for the past several years for use of the airport runway to facilitate drag racing events. This year, the following dates have been picked for their event: May 24th and 25th, June 7th and 8th, June 21st and 22nd, September 27th and 28th, and October 11th and 12th. The race day events will increase tourism to the community. There is possible noise to surrounding residents. Organizationally, we monitor the agreement and airport conditions. Budget revenue is based on a 33% share of net ticket sales and participant fees. Significant dates: October 11, 12 racing dates will occur on Thanksgiving Day long weekend. There are no sustainability issues other than burning a lot of gas and a lot of greenhouse gases. The options include the council approves the license to use the agreement with Wine Country Racing Association for 2014 as attached. The second, that the attached agreement be amended. And third, that a request be to use the airport be denied. And we're recommending option number 1.
Thank you. We used to get the amount of revenue. Are we still revenue sharing?
Yep, 33% of net ticket sales.
Okay, and did that have a dollar of not?
Okay, we're just looking at a past report that, you know, the last record we have from the report was $2,800 that we got, but it's always in around that $3,000.
Okay.
And that, not only that, the part of the agreement we have with the group is we pay them a little bit. They've been cleaning the puncture vine on that airport for the last 2 or 3 years. They've done a wonderful job, and they think they may have got it this year.
Oh, good.
They're going to be in there very, very early once they know that they can have use of the airport areas.
Great. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to recommend option number 1.
Thank you. And that seconder, Councillor Plant. I know I ask this every year. Do we ever have an inspection on that runway? I mean, not so much for them, but like the overall general, you know, when you look at asphalt, it does over the years crack and fissure and that. Do we ever have that looked at, or maybe next year's budget, could we have someone who knows about those sort of things?
I think we had people looking at the airport pretty closely here in the last year with the potential for the expansion of the airport, and they didn't find any issues with it.
Okay.
So, but something I can put down for the 2015 activities if council wishes.
Well, you know, because it'd be such a big ticket item that, and once asphalt starts going downhill with cracks and fissures, it seems like it doesn't take long.
I would suspect that our Ron is out there all the time because we're doing crack filling in town.
Okay.
So, you know, if there was something, but I'll just make note of it and have him check.
This would just be for comfort.
Yep.
At this point. Councillor Rhodes.
Just a quick comment. I know I'm repeating what Mr. Romanko said, but I'd just like to offer a huge thank you to all of these folks that go out there and deal with that puncture vine on an ongoing basis. I remember back, I don't know how many years ago, walking around that when this kind of first got kicked off, and you kind of look at the bottom of your shoes and they were just absolutely covered with those little nettles from highly invasive species. And thank you so much for keeping that area clean, because every plant you kill stops 4,000 other ones from populating that area up there. So good work, and to me that's enough to support this initiative, just the puncture vine alone.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. So the motion is out there for 5 weekends, 10 days of racing. All in favor?
Councillor Ryan in favor.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Opposed? That is carried. Into business 5, Resort Municipality Funding Agreement. Again, CAO Romanko, please.
Thank you. The implementation of the Resort Municipality Initiative Funding Program requires an annual agreement to be completed that identifies the amount of funding that will be provided to the municipality, as well as the projects that will be funded. In the past, the town has received approximately $285,000 to $300,000 annually to assist in development of facilities that will enhance the tourism economy in the community. Projects that have been developed by this program include the marina, boat trailer park leasing, washroom developments at Gyro and Goodman Park, and the purchase and operation of the beach cleaner. Attached, please find an executed copy of the shared cost agreement between the town and the Minister of Jobs, Tourism, Skills Training that enables the town to access $227,207 for the January 1st, 2014 to March 31st, 2014. This agreement was executed without council resolution because the agreement had to be in the province by March 24th and was received by the CEO on March the 20th. The CEO received confirmation by a majority of council to proceed with the execution of the agreement to meet the timelines by email. Projects identified for funding had to have an expenditure date prior to June 30th and included the Gyro Park project, the boat trailer leasing, visitor activity enhancement, i.e. the Desert Live funding, and the waterfront safety buoy installation. Additional funding will be provided to the town in the second half of the year. In terms of implications, the town benefits from having a designated resort municipality through receiving funding that assists in developing tourism facilities, programs, and services. Organizationally, staff time is invested in applications, reporting, and implementing projects. These projects have been budgeted for development in 2014 and are identified in the resort municipality 5-year capital funding strategy. This year, $260,000 was budgeted for. However, our revenue should be in the area of $300,000. Significant dates was that this agreement had to be done by March 24th. Options, council passes a resolution approving the cost shared arrangement agreement for the resort municipality initiative funding for the period January 1st, 2014 to March 31st, 2014, and the CEO's action of executing this agreement based on a majority of council providing him approval to execute the agreement through email approval. Second, council passes a resolution directing the CEO to communicate to the ministry that council has no longer approved the cost shared agreement for the resort municipality initiative and funding for the period January 1st to March 31st, 2014. And the CEO recommends option number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Romanko. Councilor McCordoff.
I would certainly recommend option 1. I wouldn't dare say option 2.
And seconded by Councilor Rhodes. Any discussion on this? I'm just wondering if there's a bonus for signing early.
Well, there was a penalty for not signing at all.
A big one. Councilor Ryan, any comments?
No, I'm totally in favor.
All in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you. Business 6, BFI Amended Contract. CAO Romanko.
Lots of agreements today. In terms of council's decision to enter into the agreement with the Multi-Material BC, MMBC program, necessitated the development of an amended contract with BFI Canada to incorporate the needed actions to enable the MMBC program standards. The negotiation was complicated by the current BFI contract financial returns linked to retaining and selling the recycled product. In the new MMBC system, BFI doesn't retain the recycled goods. Therefore, there is an impact on their financial return. In terms of overview, attached is a new amended BFI waste collection agreement that incorporates the MMBC standards and addresses the issues related to changes in the BFI financial returns. The attached contract is similar to for Osoyoos, Oliver, and Penticton. Features of the contract include ability to participate in the MMBC process. Another one, a 2-year contract extension. That's for all our garbage and recycle pickup. A 6-month termination for convenience clause, one-sided only for the town, following the completion of the original contract, and no CPI increase for the final 2 years, actually 1.5 years. BFI has agreed to deal with the recycle revenue issue through the extension of the current contract for the additional 2 years. They recognize the amended contract as an extension of service, therefore they have agreed to forego any CPI on the additional 2 years. The amended contract provides the town with a 6-month cancellation clause for the additional 2 years in the event there are changes to the MMBC program. Implications: the community benefits from additional services of the MMBC program with no change to the pickup service provider. Organizationally, the development of a new contract takes up staff resources and is a costly legal process. The additional 2 years with a 6-month opt-out clause plus no CPI in the last 2 years enables the continuation of a service with no disruption. Budget, no impact on budget as rates stay the same. Significant date, the MMBC program implementation is actually May 19th, 2014. Sustainability, additional recycled material will be picked up. Options, approve the amended BFI waste collection contract as presented. Number 2, provide additional comments to review with BFI to include in the amended BFI waste collection contracts. And I guess that's the only 2 I provided. There was just an empty 3. I guess I ran out of options. The recommendation is the administration recommends option number 1. The community has been happy with the service that BFI has provided through previous contracts. This contract provides for a continuation of a positive service relationship with no cost increases.
Okay. Council's wishes, please. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion based on the wording in option 1.
Thank you. And seconder, Councillor Plant. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I just had one question of Mr. Romenko. What is the new termination date of the contract?
I'll have to, so it would be, we had a 5-year agreement that we signed in 2011, so that would be 2016, so the additional 2 years would take us to 2018.
2018, okay. All right, thank you.
They seem very interested in having a contract signed, particularly when there's no CPI increases and things like that in the last couple of years. Now, I've been being contacted and I've referred questions coming your way, Mr. Romenko, in fact, late Friday, advising them that you were going to be at meetings for most of the day. But we have the CFIB, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business People, that are this new anti-MMBC wave, and they're causing quite a ruckus. But I don't think it's going anywhere. I've seen what the provincial government's answer is to them. If we go ahead and sign this, there's no issues with that. We'll just ride the wave as it goes along, because we're not really involved in it, actually.
No, this particular contract deals with all our garbage and recycling pickups. So, again, there were provisions in the MMBC program that we had to work into the contract. So, should the MMBC program go, then we'll be falling. We're actually picking up more than when we were before.
Okay.
And then we had to deal with the whole fact that a part of their revenue was generated on the fact that they were getting the recyclables, and now they won't. I can't see MMBC not going. It's in provincial legislation.
Right.
There's been nothing brought forward in terms in the legislature to change that. And you know, the good thing about this contract is that we're basically extending it for 2 years with no CPI, and you know, we're not dealing with additional legal fees and that immediately for 2 years. So,
okay, anything further? All in favor?
Councilor Ryan in favor.
Thank you. That carries. Business 7, MMBC again. CAO Romenko.
The MMBC program was not an easy one to implement, and we've just started. We haven't started the program yet.
That's right.
So the town entered into the agreement to implement MMBC recycle program for this community. This program will see changes in what materials are recycled and how the materials will be handled. The program has a 3% contamination rate target that will have to be achieved, or MMBC will have the ability to fine the town for contaminated loads. MMBC required a 4-month on-site education program as part of the contract. Overview, the project will involve funding an additional position to B&B Woodgrind to assist with the operations of the landfill, with the primary focus being education of recycled area users, supervision of the recycling areas, and monitoring of the dumping at the landfill face. The purposes are to assist with implementing the MMBC program, which will increase product separation, decrease the potential penalties that would result from improper product separation, increase education at the dump face on products going into the landfill, enabling landfill life to be enhanced, and increase customer compliance through education and decreased customer complaints. This is being proposed as a one-year trial program with review for future implementation. Evaluation criteria will have to be established to assist in determining program success. In terms of implementations, the community benefits from increased recycling through a decrease in the use of the landfill airspace, organizationally staff time to implement the agreement, develop evaluation criteria, and monitor the project. The project was approved in the 2014 budget with funds from the MMBC program allocation and landfill revenues. Significant dates, as I mentioned before, MMBC program starts May 19th, 2014, and this will be a one-year trial program. Sustainability, increased environmental sustainability through more recycling and extending landfill lifespan. The options, pass a resolution that gives signing authority approval to sign the attached agreement. 2, pass a resolution that denies the attached agreement. And 3, request changes to the attached agreement and bring it back to council for consideration. Administration is recommending option number 1. Implementation of this project will increase landfill users' knowledge of approved recyclables, decrease potential for contamination and resulting penalties, and 3, increase user transition with the MMBC program changes causing improved customer service. One of the major differences with implementing the MMBC program is that in the past we've been just taking our blue bag materials that people bring and throwing them into a bin, whether it be paper, materials, or whatever. That won't happen anymore. We're going to have a bin for paper. We're going to have a bin, a 40-yard container for the container type of materials. But everything, those two will have to be separated, and then we're going to have other bags that will handle the other material like the polystyrofoam and that. So there is going to be an initial learning period and some frustrations with people that used to just come and throw the blue bag in and felt that they were doing everything they could for sustainability. Now there's going to have to be increased separation. So this particular project is really going to work with those people, try and work through some of those frustrations.
Okay. I have a couple of questions here. Is council, do they have any input into this?
Want me to make a motion?
Doesn't matter, sure.
I would move option 1, that we recommend that the signing authority approve the attached agreement.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Rhodes seconding. The question I have, when we were reading through it, so MMBC required a 4-month, this position to be 4 months?
Yeah, they want a 4-month education program. Okay. And we talked before about having increased assistance at the landfill to try and take some of our waste that's going into the face. So we combined the two programs together, okay, and basically said we don't feel that this is going to be over in 4 months.
Right. So we took the 4-month demand,
yeah,
and it's the town that made it a 1-year position.
That's right.
Okay,
yeah.
And then further information on the funding, we're paying for that, or
we're going to pay for that. We're going to use funds from the MMBC program and some general revenues that we have.
So it's not really a budget item then.
Well, it is in a sense anything that expended money.
Well,
yes.
Yeah. But there will be. This is part of the income that's going to come in from MMBC.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Councilor McCordell.
Thank you. I just want to ask, how do we, I think this is a great idea that at the landfill to have this and be able to ask questions of whoever it is that's hired and say, where does this go, and get a comfort level with it. How do we help people at the grassroots level at their homes make sure that they're doing this, because that's going to be a problem too, isn't it, if they mix things up when they put it in the bags? And,
No, at home, nothing will change.
Oh,
It's just at the landfill.
Okay.
So people will be able to continue with their general blue bag programs, and those blue bags will go directly be picked up and will be sorted by the pickup people. But because we're running a depot, the requirement of MMBC is that there be greater separation at that level.
thank you, that makes sense.
Councilor Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I noticed, as the mayor said earlier, a lot of controversy in some communities about it. Lots of real positive support from a lot of other communities, and I hope we stay in that category. Anything that provides opportunity for more recycling is definitely a benefit. One question I wanted to ask, and I think I know the answer already. The company picking up the blue bags on the street could possibly not be BFI, right? Is it
No.
a separate thing altogether,
Yeah.
or
Well,
are we still keeping that together?
No, BFI will still continue to pick up. If council had not entered into if council had not accepted the MMBC program, then MMBC program would have taken over the recycling pickup. They would have implemented a pickup. But because their decision was to agree to the project, we then became the pickup. The town became the pickup provider, the contractor, and then we're using BFI as our pickup. And so there'll be no change at the pickup who's dealing with the pickup of garbage and recycling. Okay. And so we would have had, if we had not entered into the MMBC program, we would actually have had two pickups. BFI would have had to do the garbage pickup, and then MMBC with their service provider would have had to do the recycling. So it would have been two separate pickups.
Okay. Anything?
I hope I was clear on that.
Anything further? We are going ahead with the MMBC landfill.
Yeah, and if I just said, it's probably what makes it even more confusing is that it's no longer BFI. It's Progress who bought out BFI.
Okay.
And so many people thought we changed contractors, but we didn't.
Okay.
It just that BFI got bought out by Progress.
Okay.
So that even further enhances the confusion.
Okay, any further questions? All in favor? Opposed?
Councilor Ryan in favor.
Thank you. Carried. Now, we will go to the additions to the agenda, of which there are quite a few. First one is business.
There's one more business item.
Did I miss one?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, an important one also. Thank you for that. Yeah. I was just anxious, I suppose. Business 8, the BC Ferries service cuts. There was a request from some North Island people and North Coast people to join them in some sort of action. Mr. Romanko, please, CEO Romanko.
Yes, at the March 3rd Committee of the Whole meeting, Council asked the administration to look into the name of the group was the BC Ferry Coalition, to find out more information about them before any type of action was done by Council, to provide a letter of support. The administration is bringing forward information from the BC Ferry Coalition website to assist Council in determining its next action as requested by the attached letter. The information includes background information on why the coalition was born, who was involved, and a list of official supporters, and the coalition's approach when assessing government's position. An additional piece of information is a summary of the BC Coastal Ferries routes as produced by BC Ferries. So implications, Community Osoyoos is not directly affected by this matter except on the broader matter of the Premier not meeting with stakeholder groups and the impacts on this decision on the tourism industry. So in terms of options, option number 1, provide a resolution and letter of support to the coalition as requested by the Skeena Queen Charlotte Regional District. 2, provide a letter to the Premier asking that she meet with the coalition and First Nations to further discuss the issue. And 3, take no action. In terms of recommendation, the administration is providing this comment. The decision to support or not to support this group needs to consider the comfort that Council has supporting a lobby group without fully understanding their political character and motivations. It is evident from the content on their website that this group is extremely confrontational in its approach and relationship with the provincial government.
Okay, Council's wishes on this, please. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I know we've discussed this before, and I'm happy to get the information. I'm not sure if it's really helped me decide, but I would like to make a motion based on option number 3 to take no action at this time.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
And Councillor McCordoff's seconding that. Yeah, I can certainly support that. Again, we really don't have all the facts, and I think we were interested, particularly because we're so tourist oriented in Osoyoos, and certainly didn't want to see anything affecting our tourism dollars and those cutbacks that were announced on the ferry system. But again, we're a little far removed from the action for any letters at this point, and there may be opportunities down the road. Hopefully they get it ironed out a little bit better because the tourism season is soon starting. So, is there any further comment?
Just a question, Mr. Mayor. Did a letter go to the Premier already asking her to meet with local governments and First Nations on this matter?
Mr.
Because
Manko?
my understanding was that we had said we were comfortable with that at the last meeting, and but we weren't sure whether we wanted to support the coalition. So I'm not sure whether that letter has been sent or whether we're kind of revisiting that matter again today.
My understanding, Councillor Ryan, was we had that dialogue and did not act on it and sent the whole thing to administration for the information we got back to date. So we did not send that letter, and it went back into the referral file.
Okay, so now if I heard correctly, Councillor Rhodes is recommending option 2, which is provide the Premier with a letter saying that she meet with the coalition and First Nations.
No.
Is that correct?
No, that's wrong. He took item number 3, take no action.
Oh, take no action. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I clarified it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McCordoff.
Thank you. On page 126, I just wanted to point this out. It was a summary of the BC coastal ferries routes, and you can certainly understand why the government is not. This is available on BC Ferries if anybody wants to have a look at it. But there are some routes that there's one that goes to Port Hardy to Prince Rupert, $2,364 per vehicle shortfall. So in other words, that has to be paid for by somebody. And so I think that it's very important that these coastal routes be looked at. Maybe they don't need 5, maybe they need 4 or 3 a week rather than so many, because it's costing a lot of money. There's only a couple of them that are actually do not have a shortfall on them. Many of them are subsidized.
And I think thank you for that. And I think some of it was there's always the poster issue that you hang out there, and one of them, the ferry was downgraded, I'll use that, to a small open-sided ferry that at the time didn't even have potable water, and it was going to run Bella Bella to Bella Coola or Bella Coola to Bella Bella. I probably have them backwards. But it was going to run on there, and it was going to be like a 16-hour journey on an open ferry or something. And that was, I think, the worst-case scenario, and I think that was the one that saw all the headlines in the paper. So if we were closer, I think we could certainly support something, but again, with not enough information, I'm real comfortable with where we are of taking no action and seeing what the parties can, maybe they can meet and get together and iron out their differences. So all in favor?
Councillor Ryan in favor.
Thank you. Opposed? That is carried. Now on to the new agenda items, actually late agenda items. So business number 9 looks like a contract awarded for the reclaimed water irrigation system expansion. CAO Romanko, please.
Thank you. This is a 2014 approved capital budget item. The one project is for the installation of a flow meter on the main line between the new reservoir, and the other is for the necessary works to include the irrigation of the high school playing fields and the future airport expansion. The 2014 budget for these projects is $224,000. A total of 7 bids were received, with the lowest bid being Grizzly Excavation Limited for $209,763.75. True Consulting Group has reviewed the tender packages and has confirmed that the Grizzly Excavation Limited was the lowest bidder. This tender is under the 2014 budget amount. In terms of implications, for community improvements, the overall operations of the sewer system and flow meter will provide valuable information. Organizationally, having sufficient reclaimed water supply areas. 3 budget projects are targeted to be under budget. Significant dates, starting dates are to be determined. Sustainability improves the town's infrastructure, and options presented are 2. One being award the reclaimed water irrigation system extension to Grizzly Excavation Limited for the amount of $209,763. You know what I mean. $209,763.75. Number 2, do not construct these systems, and the administration is recommending option number 1.
Thank you, CAO Romanko. Council's wishes? Councilor McCordoff?
I move option 1.
Okay, thank you. And Councilor Plant, seconding. Any discussion on this? Anything we should know on these contracts? You know, sometimes we...
Basically, we had one of the things is we had a very good turnout of contractors.
Yeah.
You got when you have 7 bidders like that, that means that certainly we've got a good cross section of costing available. So.
Okay.
I'm totally in favor. Yeah,
Okay.
go.
All in favor of the wording?
Councillor Ryan in favor.
Thank you. Business number 10, South Okanagan Community Literacy Program, request for a letter of support. Fairly straightforward. CAO Romanko.
Yes, this was a request. Apparently, the South Okanagan Community Literacy Program is applying for funding. I'm just going to read an email that they sent. They've said they've worked hard with less money this past year. 16 learners were matched with tutors in Oliver, Solis, and Okanagan Falls this year, and we're adding 3 more matches before the finish of the year. We will have 20 trained tutors. The program works so well for so many reasons. It's free, flexible, and has continuous intake. Adults can access the program if they are 19 years of age or older, and they can carry on a conversation in English. It allows us to work one-to-one with immigrants and people born here. Our tutors really make a difference in these communities. A couple things that will impact our program. Our literacy funding is now been cut from the province from $2.5 million to $1 million, and in the past few years, our Literacy Now coordinator has been making more of a difference. And as of April 1st, Immigrant Services in the South Okanagan will be working with direct federal funding as their eligibility will change and this will likely impact our literacy program. So they are looking for a letter of support, and we've provided this letter of support in the past.
Great. Council, please. Councillor Plant, moving that, and seconder, Councillor Rhodes. Any comment on that? All in favor?
Councillor Ryan in favor.
Thank you. We will forward that letter. Great program. The next item up is a report on the community service grant applications. This is also what we refer to as grants in aid. We have Director Davis here, was a part of this program. So this was Director Davis working with Councillors Ryan and Plant, going through the applications and the amounts and the purposes of community groups that have applied for financial aid as part of our budget process. So I'll turn this over to Director Davis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The allocated budget for 2014 was approved for $47,000, and this included two areas. The general budget for $43,000, which includes $2,000 for sports teams and $4,000 for environmental initiatives. Our total request for this year was $62,750. The applications were grouped into 4 different categories, which included preferred support, support approved in principle, traditional support, and new requests. As part of the sports team section of the policy, we have $1,000 remaining for other teams and or individuals who may qualify for potential funding. On top of that, we have another $700 that is not allocated. As part of the approved recipients, we have included the request for the South Okanagan Community Foundation. In terms of implications for the community, this grant program is significant, and assisting these groups with programs, projects, and special events is very fulfilling. The budget is approved at $47,000. We would like to move forward ASAP. And in terms of sustainability, assisting these groups with reducing our carbon footprint or helping protect our lake water, such as the environmental approval for the Osoyoos Lake Water Quality Society. In terms of options, option number 1, for Council to approve the recommended applications as indicated on the attached spreadsheet. Option number 2, for Council to alter the amounts and approve. Or option number 3, for Council not to approve the applications at this time. And staff is recommending option number 1.
Thank you. Councillor Plant, were you going to move that forward?
I could definitely put that motion through. I was hoping I'd get that from either the 2 councillors that weren't on that committee to agree to it. Then I would certainly be happy with that. But I certainly would love to move that we accept this and just speak on it afterward.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, and seconded by Councillor Ryan. Councillor Plant, please.
Yes, I just wanted to say a couple of things. It was another one of those years. Again, it's one of my favorite processes, honestly, because we give money to programs that are in need, that need grant aid, that need some of this to continue on with what they're doing with their programs. And I feel very proud that we can actually help support those moving forward as being resources for our community that are needed. And as we know, many of these are resources or programs that seem to get cuts coming from the government at higher levels, and so it's very important for our small community to have these resources, and it's a privilege to take part in this, and working with Gerald and Councillor Ryan during this process. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Director Davis and Councillor Plant and Councillor Ryan for going through this process yet again this year. And I know the comments made by Councillor Plant were all very positive, and he feels good about it. But, you know, at the end of the day, there are some tough decisions that have to be made with this. It's all not positive. Some people get declined and turned down for a wide variety of reasons. And so I'd just like to say a big thank you for sitting in on there. I know I had that opportunity about 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm thanking you for doing it, so I don't have to do it. So thank you very much.
Councilor McCordoff, please.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to ask if we could have the recipients of these this money come to a council meeting like we did last year. Has that been considered? I think that especially the royalty, I know they already mentioned it, that they were hoping that they would get some money and they'd love to come to a council meeting and have it presented. So please continue.
I think the process that we did last year, we would like to continue this year, where the recipients come forward and council presents their grants.
Sure. If I may, Director Davis, I'd like you just to respond to the pickleball. It's one of the few that had zeros beside it, and it was a fairly large ask, and maybe just explaining that it was either all in and all, and how we can look at that into a budgetary process for the upcoming years.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So pickleball had a request of $10,000 for a grant to try and improve an existing town asset. And the timing of the actual grant application and trying to move forward at this point in time was a little bit more difficult, especially with our community services master planning process underway. So trying to allocate some dollars, especially probably a quarter of what we actually have to give to a number of groups, which was 17 in total, was a little bit more difficult. Not to say that we're not going to do something in the future, but for us to look at it, see what we can do with our current town asset, which is the basketball court next to the tennis courts, which is something that will be brought back to council at a later time. And hopefully we will get some more pickleballers.
Great. And they could be advised to fill out questionnaires. Many questionnaires. No, I'm sure we'll be looking at that into our next year's budget process. So thanks for that. Any further input from council on the granting of the funds? Hearing none, all in favor?
Councilor Ryan in favor.
Thank you. That's carried, and those groups will soon be getting their money. And yeah, it would be great to have them come before council. That's great. Wow. Last item. Item 12, the Haynes Point boat launch. This just snuck up on us last week, and Mr. Romanko, CEO Romanko, has some comments on that.
Yes, yes, there were some concerns expressed that BC Parks were going to take out the boat launch at Haynes Point this year. As we all know, the boat launch is really in a state of disrepair, and there were some concerns about liability issues. So when that concern was expressed to members of council, I followed up with BC Parks, and they informed me that the boat launch will be fixed this year. And the services continued this year, but they did express concern relating to future years and a go-forward position with the boat launch. So this was brought to council, looking to see what council wanted, if they wanted to take any steps in this particular matter.
Great. So I'm going to lead that forward, Councillor McCordoff.
Yes, thank you. I think I would like to make a motion that we send a letter to the provincial government and the BC Parks stating that we are very concerned about this. It's being well used. Oh, and perhaps we could also include OBWB into that, and that it's a much needed service in our town, and we would like to make sure that they know that we appreciate them fixing it this year, and we'd like it to continue.
Thank you very much. And that's seconder, Councillor Plant. Speaking, Councillor Plant, please.
I would also like to make sure that MLA Larson is also included on that as well.
For sure, for sure. And I think we just want to, if there's going to be decisions made about that boat launch, it so affects our town that we want to be at the table. We want to have some input into that and be able to to make sure that the proper decisions are being made, because it has huge impacts for the local boating fraternity, certainly Okanagan Basin Water Board with both their harvester and their rototiller. And if we couldn't get into that side of the lake, it would be a disaster. So we're just asking for permission to be included. Anything further? All in favor? Opposed?
Councillor Ryan in favor.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan. Okay, into notice of motion. Any motions coming forward? Hearing none. Into reports. General Sun Bowl Arena and payroll accounts. Cash requirements representing balances in the following funds. In the general account, $191,717.31. In the Sun Bowl account, $13,395.99. And payroll accounts for receipt only, $154,499.97. Any input into that? Hearing none, that will be adopted by consensus. Next item reporting out is the building permit report for the month of March 2014. Nice number of $707,000. One new duplex in the amount of $400,000 up at Pinehurst, and the other would be additions and small constructions and things like that. So a nice number, $707,000. Motion to receive Plant Roads, all in favor. That has been received. Any committee reports? Councillor McCordoff, you reporting out on any?
No.
None of your committees? Okay. Anyone else? No committee reports. CAO report. CAO Revanco, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Just a few of the activities that the administration has been involved in the last couple of weeks. Starting in the Community Services Department, they've received notification that they will receive another AED for the Sonora Community Center, and this is as part of this program through the Heart and Stroke Foundation. We will also be receiving training for the use of the AEDs. Staff completed a 2 days with Lees and Associates last week as part of the Community Service Master Plan process. During the 2 days, we had sessions with council, session staff, and a session at the high school and numerous key stakeholders, along with a public open house. The next public open house is scheduled for mid-June, where the consultants will be making their recommendation presentations. This past week was quite a sport tourism week in town here that I just like to talk about in terms of economic development. They had the West Coast Sharks in from Kelowna, and they've been running their spring camps down here, and the arena was just a buzz. The parking lot was full all week. Down at Desert Park, the Pinnacles Football Club hosted over 40 teams regionally, and all the kids were there playing soccer all the weekend. So that, again, provided a lot of energy to the town, and also the local Ironman tournament had really good weather. So nice to see that the weather cooperated for these particular events in our community. The Soyuz Autism Behavioral Center hosted a fundraiser at the Sonora Community Center, and it seemed to be a very successful event. They had a very good turnout. And our Slow Pitch League starts tonight with 8 teams. And over into corporate services, scheduled crew talks for clerical staff on the Workmen's Compensation Act. External postings were received and reviewed for the building services position. Finalized the regional district dog pound contract, archery lease, paddleboard leases, and goose cull contracts. Followed up on some insurance claims, and we're busy scheduling staff replacements. Also ordered the shelving units for the vault reorganization. And summer's coming. They're making preparations for the opening of the boat trailer parking lot, getting quotes on permits and instructions to the printers. So summer's just around the corner. In terms of finance, finalizing the 2013 financial statements, working on the annual report and reviewing accounts, and also preparing and sending out the rural water and sewer billings. Planning and development, completed contract with the RDOS for for doing development review services, and provided them with their first task, which is a variance review. Continued to work on the fire hall project, and also just an update on Gyro Park. An invitation to tender was issued on April 2nd for construction and landscaping on the first phase of Gyro Park Plaza and the Gyro Park parking lot. Tenders were placed on BC Bid, the Southern Ontario Construction Association, and our website. Closing time is April 16th. The first priority is to remove the old parking lot and replace it with paving stones. The other work components can be organized around park visitors, except around the concession building, which will be postponed till after the summer, not to interfere with this business. Design has already been commenced on all the other lakefront landscaping projects around the marina and the sheer down slope, which will be completed at a later time. So a lot of work being happening in that area. Public Works, both the storm scepters at 36th Avenue and Bayview have been installed, and other works is going on. There's also the Bayview storm line is being put in right now along Lakeshore Drive. The mats for the boat launch have been installed. That's the mat extensions. We had problems with our boat launch due to people power loading their boat and creating a big hole, and so that's been dealt with now. The crack sealing tender has been awarded and will start shortly. Sidewalk repairs are being done along with memorial bench installations, and our historical signs initiated by the museum have been installed, except for one which will be part of the Gyro Park updates. And the upgrades to Jack Shaw and Pioneer Walkway washrooms are underway.
Great.
In terms of the CAO, we reviewed the first draft of the sewer capacity study and provided the consultants' feedback prior to this becoming a public document. Reviewed future developments of the accessibility ramp at the marina, and continue to work on the changes needed to accommodate the MMBC program at the landfill. And also, we're just in the final, probably, processes of doing our water recycle agreement with the School District 53, so that should be coming to council very shortly. Thank you very much.
Well, that's a very good, great report, and getting lots off the checklist. I'm happy to see that progressing. Thank you very much. Council reports. We'll start with Councillor Plant, please.
All right, thank you very much. I had a chance to go to a couple of events. Actually, one was mentioned by Mr. Romenko, and that was the Association of Autism Behavioral Center and their Walk for Awareness. And I participated in that on Saturday. What an event. It actually started at 11. I came in there at 10:30. There was kids all over the place enjoying the facility at the Sonora Center, and vendors were set up from all different areas related to autism. And so it was a very successful day. According to what I found out, they raised over $6,500 for that center, so that's fabulous. And just again want to thank all the business owners and volunteers, those who walked and pledged and donated. Thank you again. And one of the theme for it was superheroes, and I know knowing Kim and Brian Dragseth, their two sons who both have autism are every time you come to their house, they're in a different costume. So you never know who's going to answer the door, if it's going to be Batman or Superman or Spider-Man. And so I think they went with that theme. But I thought, I'd look up what a superhero actually means and actually look at some of the different things. And one of them that came up was the common traits of a superhero. And a couple of them were extraordinary powers or ability. A strong moral code, including a willingness to risk one's own safety in service of good without expectation of reward. A motivation such as a sense of responsibility. And I kept reading through this, and it actually kept reminding me of Kim Dragseth and the things that she's done to get this center started. So I consider her a leader, a champion, and a superhero in this town. She's unbelievable in the work she's done for this. So congratulations to her on a very successful event. And then the other one that I was involved in on the same day was the firemen's oyster feed. And being part of the fire department, it's always a privilege to run this. It's a ton of work. Wow, 27 volunteers. We had 500, close to 500 people that we fed in an hour through that thing. We always time it. We always see how good we do. So we're pretty proud of ourselves. But again, this is strictly got to thank the community for all the things they bring in for our silent or for our auction. It's just unbelievable the support that we get. That place is packed. We sell tickets. They're sold out almost the minute we drop them. So a big congratulations again to the fire department, and it's such a great time because what comes out of it at the end, which is a chance to give money to the burn unit in Vancouver, the Penticton Hospital, help out where we can with the Oliver Hospital, all those essentials to our emergency services. So a big thank you to everyone that participated and all the businesses who donated. It's just fantastic. So those are the two events. Pretty worn out from those two, so I'll pass it on to the next. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ryan, you have anything to say from...
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a short report. I have, of course, been out of circulation for about 3.5 weeks. I had a colon cancer operation at that time, and I'm happy to say that the pathology gave me a clean bill of health after the surgery. So I'm slowly getting back into my routine. I attended church this weekend. I attended the morning session today of council, and I've got a sore ear now, but I've been participating in this open meeting. And I just want to thank everybody for all their good wishes in the last little while. I'm hoping that I can pop by the Wednesday evening meeting at the Watermark of the South Okanagan Foundation. This is an opportunity for members of our community to learn more about this foundation and what it's doing, and to help to enhance and to increase the Osoyoos fund within the foundation. So certainly the town will be, on behalf of its citizens, will be making a donation. We hope that many people either at that time or subsequently will support it as well. And I'd just like to mention someone who really impressed me in the last few days, and that was a young former RBC trader called Brad Katsuyama. And he's probably someone many people haven't heard about, but he has taken on the high-frequency stock trading in Wall Street and I guess in Bay Street, and has started a little firm called IEX Group to give another trading platform to people who trade in stocks that will restrict and eliminate the possibility of high-frequency stock trading, which is a very unfair way of people who have fast computer networks from getting in ahead of everybody else and finding out what's happening before everybody else. So kind of an obscure thing, but certainly affects all of us, whether we know it or not. And that's my report.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan, and keep on with your recovery.
Thank you.
Next up would be Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to take a pass, rapidly losing my voice here thanks to that nasty flu that's been going around. I think everything that has been said has been very important, and anything that's going to be missed is going to be covered right after I sign off here by Councillor McCordoff.
Heading to Councillor McCordoff.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'm just going to talk about a couple of things that are on in the next couple of weeks, because you've heard about some of the things that have already happened. This is a volunteer week, and the culmination of Volunteer Week is the Volunteer Appreciation Luncheon, sponsored by the town, and it is at the Sonora Community Center on Saturday, April the 12th at 12 o'clock. Now, all of the service clubs and people who might be involved in volunteer organizations have been sent letters, and if you didn't get one and you're a volunteer with one of these groups, please contact your executive and find out what you should do, because you could attend on Saturday and come for lunch. These are people that service clubs and organizations, cultural and recreational activities, help neighbors clean up parks, coach teams, and all of that. Those are all volunteers. There are 4 special awards that are given out, one for Best Volunteer Project, one for Best Council-Appointed Committee or Task Force Member, one is the Outstanding Group Award, and the Outstanding Individual Volunteer. So that's on Saturday. Then the following weekend is, and Councillor Ryan has already mentioned the Community Foundation, which is at the Watermark on Wednesday from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. If you'd like to hear more about that, Council's just given them some money as for the Osoyoos portion to start that up. So if you'd like to know more about it, come out to Watermark on Wednesday, April 9th between 7 and 9. Next weekend is Easter Extravaganza, and I believe it's the 20th Osoyoos Festival Society Easter Extravaganza. Started many years ago by Dorothy and Bob Robinson, who had bunny outfits made, and both of them have since died, but they were very strong community people in our town. And so Easter Extravaganza is held on the Saturday, April the 19th. It will be, there's first of all a pancake breakfast, and aren't we fortunate that the Rotary Club has taken over doing the pancake breakfasts, because it was the Lions Club for many years, and they have now folded. So we're very fortunate to have the Rotary Club taking that over. We have an Easter egg hunt, which is at the school playground. That is 3,500 chocolate eggs that we hide on the field. We also have 24 plastic eggs, and if somebody finds one of those, they bring it up to the goalposts, and we give them a choice of a stuffed animal. After that, that's right at 10 o'clock in the morning. After that, there are several activities right outside here at Town Square. There's children's entertainment. There are vendors down there. There's food vendors. There's musicians. There's all kinds of things to do. Plus, you know, people are still eating the pancake breakfast, which goes from 8 till 11. At 11 o'clock, the firemen in front of the fire hall have for a donation, you can have a hot dog and a drink, and the firemen, if you like, you can make a donation. I think it's to the Cancer Society. Is it, Councillor Plant? Is it the Cancer Society that you do the head shaving, or is it the burn unit? Cancer Society. Okay, I wasn't quite sure, but it would be for a good medical cause, and you can come up and actually use one of the razors and shave. If you'd like to have a chance at Councillor Plant, now's your chance. Come on out on, that's from about 11 o'clock until 1 o'clock on April the 19th, and then at 1 o'clock there is the Easter Parade. And then things tend to sort of wind down. So please look in the paper. You will see a schedule of events in there, and I'm sure it would be on the website as well. The following weekend, and when people say, gee, there's too many things on, I always say, aren't you lucky you have a choice, and you can probably go to 2 or 3 each weekend if you wanted to. So on April the 26th, there is the Seropolis International of Osoyoos is holding a breakfast and fashion show. This year it is at Watermark. It has been for the last couple of years up at the golf course, but it's at Watermark this year, 9 o'clock until 11:30. And we're hoping to have lots of people attend that. I know there's something on that night at Watermark as well, an oyster dinner, and I'm not quite sure. There's several of those, and I'm sure that'll come up at another time. But that night at the Sonora Center, the Arts Council are putting on a large fundraiser. It is a dinner and show, and it's called the Comic Strippers. I think it would probably be an adult-oriented event, but it's at April the 26th. Tickets are always available through members, and they're also available at Imperial Office Pro. So come out and enjoy all of the things that Osoyoos has to offer in the next several weeks. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor McCordoff. I've got a few items I want to bring forward, but the first one, and I'm sorry I didn't mention it after the CAO's report, and so I'm going to ask him now. You mentioned a new AED going into Sonora. Have we got around to dealing with one downtown somehow, where it can be a public access or a special place or a business or a restaurant, or have we gotten there yet? And are we looking at it, please?
Yes, we are looking at it. We actually have 2 extra ones now.
Okay.
So the 2 extras that we currently have, one at Sonora and one at the arena, we can actually place either downtown or here at the town hall. And they're both registered users. The ones that we get from the Heart and Stroke Foundation will come with an automatic box, so we can open it, it's alarm, and again, it'll be part of the at-use training.
Okay.
So that is something that we can look at for the future for sure.
And I'm just wondering, like maybe one of the hotels or something, because particularly with Gyro Beach being there, but maybe the ones that you just freestand, they work with an alarm on them or lights, or like a fire alarm call, I guess they would be. Okay, I look forward to that coming back. Thank you. I just saw that going by and I missed it. There's a few things that they've already been brought forward, but that community foundation, that's a good thing. That's a good thing to look at. And congratulations to the folks from the Autism Society that did that walk, and that's always good. And Kim, congratulations once again. The volunteer luncheon, as Councillor McCordoff had mentioned, you probably just couldn't come on the loose right now, but through the organization that you're attending with, you could probably find out if there's any room available. Some of the committee work I've been doing was meeting with the fire hall the fire hall committee on the new fire hall, and Destination Osoyoos on the new hire, the executive director. I believe that's been done, but I'm not going to spill the beans. I've attended a meeting with Southern Interior Development Initiative Trust in Vernon. That's always a long way. There's another one coming up tomorrow as they're hiring a new chief executive officer up there. Meeting with Desert Live, which is the music group that's moving forward for the last 3 days of June and rolling into that July 1st weekend. It's really looking great. There's some great acts, some great people involved there. Going to bring forth, looks like it could be a 4-day festival of music, and it's all going to be at Gyro Beach. I've been at the regional district office, and just on a bit of a personal note, my mother is going to be 100 on Sunday, and there'll be a notice in this week's Osoyoos Times, and there's a walk-in open house, a walk-in tea/open house at the church for anybody that would like to come around and give her the 100th birthday wishes. So feel free to walk in, have a cup of tea, and I'm sure there'll be old Osoyoos will be there and well covering the event. So thank you very much, and we'll entertain a motion to adjourn from Councillor McCordoff Rhodes. All in favor?
Councillor Ryan in favor.
Thank you. We are adjourned. It's a great warm day out there. Let's go enjoy it. Goodbye.